I'm Cavin Elizabeth, a wedding photographer and bridal boutique owner based in San Diego, and today I'm going to be talking about vacation rental properties used as wedding venues. I would say that the most common vacation rental name these days would probably be Airbnb. Next up might be VRBO. There are other companies out there, but those are probably the top two that come to mind. And sometimes you can actually rent them to use as wedding venues, but sometimes you can't. So I'm going to get into all of the details and logistics on when you can and can't, and what you need to know if you are going to choose an Airbnb or VRBO property to use as your wedding venue. First off, why would you do this? Why wouldn't you just choose a venue that is specifically a wedding venue? Well, it provides you with a beautiful option that is something unique and non-traditional, and probably also provides on-site lodging for at least the couple, if not also the bridal party or maybe even the family of the couple. And it can give you a really cool option that's got on-site locations for photographs, for all of like your needs. So like the couple, the bridal party, the family, the ceremony, the reception. Gorgeous location, like maybe you have great views with this property, maybe it's really secluded and remote. So there's tons of reasons why you might want to do this. Maybe the city you're getting married in, you just don't like the venues there, and there's a really cool house that somebody owns that's just got amazing views or just has really picturesque property and landscaping that you just really want to make use of for your wedding. So that's really the why behind why somebody might want to choose a vacation rental property to use as their wedding. Now, one thing I would advise you guys of, if this is something that you are considering, definitely talk to the host. Message them and ask if you can come see the property in person. This is not something that you want to book sight unseen, because sometimes pictures either don't do the property justice and it could be totally better in person, or the pictures make it look way better than it actually is, which is something that you don't want to show up to and see that, oh my gosh, this place is actually a dump and the pictures made it look way better than it really is. And that can absolutely happen so many times. I have had this happen to me when I've just rented a property for a vacation, and I've shown up and been really disappointed with it, and I'm not even using it for pictures or a wedding. So make sure that you can see it in person, or worst case scenario, ask for a video tour, whether it's live or pre-recorded. If you are going to be using this as a wedding, and expect to pay a little bit more if you're using it as a wedding than if you're using it as just a standard vacation rental, because there's a lot more that goes into using a property for a wedding. There's going to be a lot more wear and tear on the property, a lot more people coming and going, but make sure that you get some sort of fuller scope than the pictures that are merely provided on the listing, because you really need to see this property, all the ins and outs of it, before you decide to book it for your wedding, which is a really big deal. One huge thing that I would say everybody needs to pay attention. If you watch nothing else of this video before you click away, you must make sure that the host is well aware of the fact that you will be hosting a wedding. Even if it's just for 15 people, they need to know that you plan to host a wedding or an event, some sort of party at their property. Do not trick them, do not lie to them, do not withhold this information from them. This is their property and they need to be aware that this is happening. Do not tell them this information. They need to know. If you're gonna have a party at someone else's property, they need to know. Some of these properties explicitly do not allow weddings. So if that pops up, even if it's the most beautiful place, it was perfect for your wedding, you have to move on. This happened with my wedding. We were originally searching for private estate type venues to host our wedding, and we found a couple of places that would have been absolutely amazing, like everything we were looking for, and it said, we do not host weddings, and we just had to move on. You cannot trick or lie. These people will find out, and if they find out that you hosted a wedding and they explicitly said no weddings, prepare to be sued, okay? They will do this. There's going to be tons of evidence that you had a wedding, your pictures that are going to come out. They will find out this information and you will be held liable. It is not worth lying to them or tricking them. I know it got really serious in this part of the video, but I mean it. Do not trick these people. Do not lie to them. So if the property says they don't do weddings, find another property. Don't try to make it happen sneakily. Don't do it. It is not worth it. It is not worth it. You can find another place. Maybe if you're having a really teeny tiny thing, you can message them and say, hey, I know your thing says no weddings. We're only having 15 people, so it's a really small thing. It's not your typical sort of wedding. Here's our plans. Is this something you might make an exception for? So maybe if you're doing something really small scale, non-traditional, it's not going to be this huge raging party. Maybe you can message them and ask, and maybe they will say, yeah, that's actually fine. I don't mind that. And you can get lucky with them and have the small wedding of your dreams at this place, but otherwise you've got to move on. Enough said. One thing to definitely consider is maybe they have one amazing view for where your ceremony is going to happen and they have a reception space, but do they have enough portrait locations if portraits are a priority to you? So if you've been dreaming of portraits of you and your spouse and you want to have a lot of variety of backdrops in your pictures, does this property have that? Do they have enough different spots around the property, good walls, good landscaping, good views to make up that variety that you're hoping for in your portraits? That's definitely one thing to look out for that a lot of people might not be considering when they're looking through the gallery of photos of that property. Now, if it doesn't, maybe what you can do is you can get on Google Maps, go on Street View, and take a little drive down the road and see if there's places nearby within maybe a 5 to 10 minute drive where you and your spouse and the photographer could hop in a car and go on a quick little drive. Maybe even down the long driveway at the end of the drive, there's really cool trees or something that you could work into your portraits to make up for the lack of portrait locations on the property itself. So even if there's not something really great at the venue itself, if there's something within a quick drive, you can make that work too. So I always like to use Google Street View when I'm going to private estates to see what might be nearby for portrait locations. So I definitely recommend doing that if the venue has very sparse opportunities for portrait locations. So you can definitely make it work, but if there's totally nothing nearby, that might be something you want to take in mind when looking at properties for choosing your venue. Another thing that you guys need to take note of when you're searching for properties is who needs to stay on site. Is it just the two of you who need to sleep over for that weekend? Do you need your bridal party to also be there? Do you need your whole family? So if you're searching for a venue, make sure that it can actually reasonably and comfortably accommodate the amount of people you need. Make sure that for the rest of your guests that there is lodging close enough by within a reasonable drive, whatever you think is reasonable. Maybe it's 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes, or if it's something more like 45 minutes, maybe you need to think about shuttle options. If you don't want all of your guests driving after they've been drinking, maybe you need to think about if there's a shuttle service available that can bus all of your guests from your venue to the nearest hotel if that's a longer drive. You don't want all those people driving, they can't carpool, take an Uber, something like that if it's more remote. So these are things that you do have to consider, the lodging nearby and the transportation when you are looking into Airbnbs, VRBOs, things that don't have built-in shuttle services. Now, speaking of driving distances, will you be able to get vendors there? So when it comes to vacation rental properties, they are typically going to be a la carte, meaning that they're not going to include any of your rentals, any of your vendors. You're gonna have to bring everybody and everything in. So you're going to have to bring in all of your tables, all of your chairs, all of the food, catering staff, things like that. So are you going to be able to get rentals there? Will the rental companies be able to get to you? Are they going to be 4 hours away? Do you mind paying for that transportation? Maybe they will come to you, but they're going to charge a lot for that transportation cost. So it could cost you hundreds of dollars extra for them to get out to you. So that is something that you are going to have to be aware of if you're choosing a very remote venue. Maybe you've got a big budget, or maybe you don't mind spending the extra money because maybe it's worth it to you to get a certain company out there. But you do have to keep that in mind. If you're choosing a very rural or remote place, there might not be the pick of the litter that you want located right there. So you're gonna have to find vendors from other nearby larger areas to shuttle themselves in to get to your venue. So you're going to have to pay more in their transportation transportation costs and travel fees to get them to your venue. When it does come to something like catering, catering is going to need to know the kind of kitchen that they're going to be working with, because if it's not a larger, fuller scale, commercial type kitchen, they might not be able to cook all of the food on site. They might have to cook some of it off site and then maybe have to warm up. Maybe they can only do certain things on site. So that is going to have to be something that you will need to talk about with the catering staff. It might affect the kind of service that you can get, might affect the quality of the food that you can have. So just have a conversation with your caterers, show them pictures of the kitchen, talk with the Airbnb or VRBO, whatever property rental company you have, talk with the owner, ask them about the kitchen amenities they have. Maybe it's a really fancy place and they do have a commercial kitchen because they're super rich and they have a commercial kitchen built into their property, and then your catering team can actually prep, cook, and do everything on site. So make sure that you figure out what kind of kitchen's on site and then relay that information to your catering team so they know everything that they are able to do on site and then what they have to do off site in order to serve your guests properly. One major thing that I highly recommend doing, that I think everybody deserves, whether you book a really tiny package with them or you book their full service, is hire a wedding planner or coordinator. I see a lot of people who want to do everything themselves, and I think that that can be so stressful. You can find a day of wedding coordinator for a very affordable price, or you can go full service wedding planner for a lot of money. But whatever you do, I strongly urge you to get some help. Having to do everything yourself, especially at a vacation rental property where you literally have to do every single thing yourself, and there are things that you don't even know that you have to do until vendors are asking you questions and you're like, I did not even know that was a thing, because the places and things that would normally handle it for you, like the venue and the vendor and all those things that would normally just happen behind the scenes, are not in place at a vacation rental property. You are going to really want, dare I say need, a wedding planner or wedding coordinator at a vacation rental property. So please don't try to save money in that area. Save it somewhere else. Just find another place to save it. Get yourself a wedding coordinator at minimum for a vacation rental property. You are going to want the help to help coordinate all of these extra things that you're not going to have the help of had you chosen a standard type of venue. So find somebody to help you with this. If you can get somebody for at least a month of type planning, oh my gosh, you're gonna be so much less stressed. You're gonna be relieved. But at minimum, a day of coordinator is gonna be so helpful for you in coordinating all of the little things that are gonna come along with a vacation rental property, like trying to show people where to park. You're not going to want yourself or a family member trying to do all of these things on a wedding day. This applies to a standard venue, but at a vacation rental property, the workload that this person is going to have to cover for you is going to be so much greater, and you are going to really be so thankful that you hired somebody to do this for you. I cannot stress this enough. It is really 100% so worth the cost. Now, the last thing that I would like to leave you guys with is remember that this is a person's home. This is a person's property. Even if this is a very rich person and they own 7 of these properties, remember at the end of the day, this belongs to a human being. This is their home. This is their property. It doesn't matter if they own 1 of these or 10 of these. Treat their home and property with respect. Remember, this is their home. Leave it in the condition that you found it in. And if something happens, if there's damage done to their property, please take care of it. I would also recommend, and I will have a video coming out about this in probably a week or 2, about wedding insurance, but I would strongly recommend that if you are having an Airbnb, VRBO, vacation rental, wedding venue, that you go ahead and get yourself some general liability insurance for your wedding event. That way, if something breaks, if something happens, you are covered and it's not coming out of your own pocket. The insurance will pay for it. So again, look out for that video coming out soon because I will be talking more about it, but definitely get yourself some wedding insurance, because if something does happen, to this person's property, then your insurance will cover it. Because anyways, I hope this video was helpful. Airbnbs, VRBOs, whatever, can be a really cool wedding venue. You can have awesome like wedding experience with cool pictures that not a lot of other couples will have had, unlike a venue where tons, hundreds, maybe dozens, whatever couples get married there every single year. Your wedding will be super unique and awesome. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know down below if you guys are choosing a vacation rental property and maybe where in the United States it is. Thanks guys, leave a like and I'll see you next time. Bye!